Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Your While. It's a show in which I chat with authentic, heart-centered experts about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate both personal and professional change. And today we're talking about pathways to growth, seizing transformational moments. And this conversation is worth your while if you are seeking some kind of change or transformation in your life, but you don't know exactly how to go about it. You know you need some motivation to keep on moving forward and some clarity on how exactly you can keep on growing. So the opportunity for transformation and transformational experiences has never been more accessible or more affordable as it is today. So we're going to share exactly how you can seize transformational moments as a pathway to growth. I am Linda Bucher. I'm a transformational speaker and a master certified life coach. And after living the life of a chameleon for 45 years, feeling like a victim, I finally discovered who I am. I had my own transformational experience and I connected with my passion and my purpose and then reinvented my life to align with my true self. And you know what? I've become a happier, more confident, more fulfilled person because of it. But more importantly, I show up different in the world. And this transformation has resulted in me confidently unleashing my gifts into the world. And so now it's my honor and my privilege to help you do the same in your life because you have a rich, full life to lead. You have important gifts to give to the world and you have a splash to make. And for that to happen, you've got to do 5 things. You've got to know your worth. You've got to become clear on your purpose. You've got to harness your gifts in your own power. You've got to align your energy and your direction. And you've got to free yourself from the obstacles that want to hold you back. So you can absolutely do that. I've done it. I've helped hundreds or thousands of people do it. And you are meant to lead a very specific life and leave a legacy of positive change. If you want to talk about it, just connect with me on my website, lindabucher.com. Okay, that's enough about me because today we are here with my amazing guest, Kera Wasserbach. She's an event strategist and coordinator and the owner of Traveling Event Planner LLC. But her title does not do her justice because she is making big, beautiful ripples in the world. She works with coaches and leaders to create transformational experiences that propel their businesses to the next level. Now, you wanting to grow personally, you're wondering, well, what's that have to do with me? Well, stay tuned because this has everything to do with you. So hi, Kera. Thank you so much for being my guest today on Conversations Worth Your While.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about who you serve, like why you do what you do, how you are making big, beautiful ripples in the world?
Yeah, well, if you were to look at my business model, I technically serve coaches and people hosting these transformational experiences. I like to think that I serve the community that attends them because I have a real passion for seeing people go through transformation, seeing their lives change, seeing them immerse themselves in these experiences and come out with real growth on the other end. And as an event strategist and coordinator, I do 2 things. I work with coaches and personal development leaders to strategize what types of events will really serve their audience and that makes sense for their business. And I also, on the other side, help them to coordinate the events so that they can show up fully for the people attending them. And that is all of the logistics and all of the details to bring that vision to life. So.
Well, that is a beautiful thing. And if anyone has ever attended a well-coordinated event, it's a beautiful thing. And as far as myself, or like being a speaker, when someone else is doing all that other stuff and I can just come up on that stage and just do my magic, boy, is that a wonderful thing. And so I love that you are like the wind beneath the wings of these beautiful coaches who are helping people transform. And so you're doing some beautiful work in the world. Thank you very much. So let's start about talking about all the different pathways to growth. Okay, so we kind of let the cat out of the bag to talk, with like retreats, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But let's just talk about pathways to growth. Do you have a personal experience about, your own personal growth, how it's happened for you, or if there's some transformational moment that was like boom in your head that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, just discovering this world of transformational events because I grew up in an era where they weren't they weren't as populated as they are now. They weren't as transparent. You didn't know that they were all around you. So really the only thing I knew about was Tony Robbins. And I only knew that it's a guy that talks on stage and that's about it. People are inspired and that's rah rah, which obviously he does amazing, amazing things now that I know more than that. Right. But my transformational experience was just deciding that I wanted to go into entrepreneurship and creating my own business and thinking that I wanted to go down one path and then discovering this world of personal and professional development. And now every time I coordinate an event, I get to also be a part of that transformational experience. So it really does these events come up at the best time for other people, but also the best time for myself. I find that I always gain something and get something out of those experiences.
Yeah, that must be amazing to work with so many transformational coaches and getting to be a part of it. If you're there coordinating it, you're listening, you're hearing, and it really does make a huge difference. It's a very beautiful thing. And, I mentioned a little about my own transformational experience, like going from chameleon victim, Linda, to like hero thought leader, and that's more of a what, but more the emotional impact, right? The moving through life with like this little small smile on my lips every day, all the time, thinking life is so awesome. Waking up in the morning going, woo, I get to have another awesome day, going to sleep at night going, oh, what a great day it was. Like I couldn't even have dreamed that could happen. Like that was like, what? No, that's like a movie, that's not real, because shit happens, right? And it really does. But discovering new ways to navigate the world and then releasing a bunch of crap that I didn't need mentally, right? That's kind of like the how. That's what we coaches help people do. And doing that, then it's like there's a storm around us, but we can stay calm and peaceful and, keep our wits about us, right? And we recognize when, fear is real and warranted. And we recognize when fear is just a product of a story in our mind. And that's one of the best ways that we can stay centered and grounded. And then we show up better, right? We show up our best self for those around us who don't know how to navigate the storms so well. You know what I mean? So, it's a blessing to be chosen because that's how I feel. I feel chosen, right? To be in this transformational world, to be helping the world to heal one person at a time, watching people just blossom from this same transformation that I've had, that I get to help them through. Like, it's like an honor and a privilege. I remember learning a word from one of my clients who is Indian, and I hope I pronounce it right. I think she said it was seva. And she said, it's the honor and privilege of serving, of being in service. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I feel, right? So isn't this wonderful? All these coaches that you must meet, and that's what they're doing. And then you get to do that too, in serving them, you are helping the world to become greater. So to heal and transform. So it's amazing. So let's talk about these transformational moments, right? Everyone has probably heard a motivational speaker and an inspirational speaker, not the same as a transformational speaker. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think that, everyone needs to have a transformational speaker. I guess, in my opinion, a transformational speaker would be someone who really has the goal of, when people leave, they're going to come away with something that they can then utilize and enact in their daily lives to see transformation after they've left my space. And so that to me is a transformational speaker. Motivational speakers, it's important. We all want to get hyped up. Like in the beginning of an event, it's great to have a motivational speaker to get you excited and ready and to break you out of your shell. But that transformational speaker is the one that's really going to move you through that next level. And it's all about who you surround yourself with. Events are about the speakers, but they're also about the audience and the type of people that are attracted to the certain type of event. that's where you'll see your transformation, because you are who you surround yourself with, and different people respond to different events and different speakers and different methods of transformation. So
Right. Kara, that's a beautiful point. I love that you brought that up, that the audience members um, they're part of your new crowd.
yeah.
You might meet the most amazing people just in a breakout session at a retreat. You're meeting people who are growing in the ways that you're growing. It's a beautiful way, because a lot of times, I know when I went through my own personal transformation, no one else in my circles was doing that. None of my family members. None of my friends. That was all very foreign to them. They weren't called to do it, which is totally fine. And it's not my business, But like, so, okay, so where do I find the people who are like me, right? And having gone to some events where I feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm home. This feels like these people already know me and get me. It's such a wonderful thing to have, because as humans, we do all crave the sense of community, and a community of people who like know us and get us. Like that's like,
Yeah.
ooh, right? Isn't that beautiful? And
it is. And I'll say, well, one of my favorite things to see, and this is it seems like a very small transformation, but it almost always happens at events where there's one person that came to complain. Like they came to talk about their life. They came to talk about what's going on with them, to find change, but really deep down, when you look at it, just get empathy and to talk about it, because maybe they don't have people to talk about it at home. And the reframe that happens when they're surrounded by positive people that don't resort to complaining, that look for solutions, that look for growth, and take the accountability inward, and they're given that advice, and they're surrounded by that mindset. How by the end of the event, they recognize, oh, I've been dragging myself down as well with these problems that are external. I've been taking them into myself and stopping myself from having the tools to move forward. So that just came to my mind when you said, surrounding by the people and the change and the people that want to transform.
right. Yes, because that is such a great point, Kara, because when we recognize, like, oh my God, it's me. And I came to this event for like a quick fix. Like, you're going to fix this for me, right? Which is looking outside of yourself, right? But the answers lie within. We need to change within ourselves how we see what's going on, our perception, and reframe. When we reframe, we become more empowered. That the best thing about taking responsibility for how we feel is that sense of empowerment and strength and resilience that comes with it. It's a very, very beautiful thing. So that was a really great point. A transformational experience, just to wrap that piece up, is really where somebody comes in one way and they leave changed, like changed for the long term. I remember I used to, there's an event, a conference, an annual conference that I always would volunteer my time to do breakout sessions for. One year, they asked me to be a keynote. And so I did that. And so, I'd been there maybe 4 or 5 years doing my thing. And the last year that they held it, that I was there, I was just in line waiting to sign in at the beginning of the conference, like, give them my name. This is Linda Bucher. And a girl taps me on the shoulder and she's like, "You're Linda Bucher. I heard something that you said last year when I was in a session with you. It changed my life. This has been the best year of my life because of this one thing. You want to know what you said to me?" Right? And right. So when you get that, you're like, "Oh, it's all worth it. Oh, yay." That was just like for someone to like tap me on the shoulder and tell me, like, you changed my life. And then what I tell speakers, because I coach some speakers sometimes in just like their fears, right? The fear area. One of the things that I start with is I say, you can't always pick your audience. Now, with these transformation retreats, you're getting beautiful audiences. You're getting people who want to grow and whatever. But sometimes, an organization will bring you in to speak to all their employees, right? It happens with me, right? So, and some of them are sitting there with their arms folded, like, I got to be here. My boss said, so I don't want to be here. I don't want to know anything. I already know everything, whatever. For some reason, they don't want to know, right? And so that's going to happen. And as a speaker, that can be really nerve-wracking. You're looking at the audience and nobody looks receptive. They all look bored, right? How do you find your mojo? How do you find your flow? How do you make a transformational change for people like that when you have that audience? Well, you might not be able to transform everyone in the audience. However, there is one person who showed up there today that maybe they've heard what you've had to say 10,000 times. Maybe they read it all over the internet. It's pinned on their Pinterest board, but they didn't really internalize it. They just heard it. It was just a something until that day when they hear it from you on the stage or, at a retreat. They hear something from you. And then that's the day when it's like, oh my God, that is life-changing. And that's who you show up for at a retreat, as a speaker. That's who you show up for, is that one person. And you don't know who it's going to be. You just know someone here today is going to be that person that maybe next year is going to tap me on the shoulder and be like, oh my God, my life is because of this one thing you said. And I'm like, it's not all because of the one thing. It's because of what you did with the one thing that you learned. That's where the transformation occurs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so powerful. It's so rewarding when people can have that experience at an event.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about retreats. Retreat feels like a very indulgent thing to do. And I'm like, oh, say yes to retreats. It's indulgent because it is so transformational. But people think of them being like this big thing. I got to spend $5,000 and fly to Mexico, right? But that's not necessarily true. Can you talk a little bit more about your experience with running and coordinating retreats and also helping coaches strategically with retreats? We could talk about it either way.
Yeah, I'll talk about it basically. So with retreats in general, like my favorite type of retreat is really that, fly off to a location, immerse yourself in the experience, have multiple days to really transform and benefit. But there's two reasons that doesn't always work. On the strategy end for the coaches, sometimes their audience just isn't there yet, and they don't have the ability to spend $5,000, and you could be serving people at a level that they can afford and they can participate in. So that strategy will work for people maybe down the road, have one retreat a year like that, but offer these 1 day or half day retreats, which are becoming so much more popular, or even a 1 night overnight or a 2 night overnight locally, where people can actually participate in them. And it's just about finding the right retreat for you so that you can participate and you can be a part of it. And the thing that I love about retreats is that it really just takes you out of your element. And so one of the biggest blockers people have about retreats, and especially women have about retreats, is that they do feel that it is indulgent and that they can't possibly take the time to go do something like that. Well, I could take my family on vacation. I could be doing things at home. I could be working on my business. And the truth is, I have almost always seen people leave these retreats so fresh and inspired and brand new. And when following up with them later, hearing that it helped them reset and renew and be a better entrepreneur, mother, woman, family member, person in general, it just like gives them the extra step and creates lifelong connections that moves them into the next phase of their life and gives them that renewal, that feeling of renewal.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I always say that our family members, our friends, our community around us, they deserve the best of us. And we're not at our best when we're not giving ourselves what we need. So that's step one, is give yourself what you need. Give yourself some time and some space to let go of what's not serving you and to give yourself some loving and some personal evolution and growth, because that's where the best of you lies as you continue evolving and you continue growing. So retreats are such a beautiful way to do that. It is not selfish. When you come back all smiley, your family will thank you. So be like, oh, what happened to mom? She's all smiley and Logan, like super chill.
So happy.
What happened? And then, as we brought up earlier, you never know who you're going to meet. And especially with these, if you have some local retreats that you go to over and over again, you'll start seeing some of the same people, when they're these affordable retreats. So you're building your own sense of close community of like-minded people who all want to grow and evolve. And then you're doing it together and forging new bonds. And when you have a support system for this growth, that's really beautiful, because the other people, like I mentioned in my life, they weren't all growing around me. And yes, they support me because they love me, but it's not the same as a support system for someone who totally gets what I'm doing because they are also too growing. It's another level of support.
Encouragement and support are two different things. I think encouragement is what we get from the people we love. And it's not impossible to go through major transformation in your same environment that you're at day to day, but it'll go a lot better and a lot smoother and a lot faster if you just create these pockets of time where you can remove yourself from your daily environment, go into these half day, full day, and then possibly someday a weekend retreat. And like you said, surround yourself with other people. And that is the beauty of the local ones, is that you tend to see the same people. You develop a new circle. And what makes that support is like they're actually doing the things that you're doing. So instead of saying, which is so important from our loved ones, I'm so proud of you. I love you. I'll be there for whatever you need to do. These people are actually going through it with you. And they say, I love you. I'm there for you. And here's what I struggled with today. Are you struggling with the same thing? How did you get through it? And you have that support system. So
yes,
it's just a different
yeah,
vibe.
it really is. So we come across these transformational moments in our lives, and they might be something that a speaker said on stage. They might be something that you've read on the internet. They might be what happens in the result of a coaching session. Happens all the time with my clients. Are like, oh my God, I just thought of this. Right? But the point is to seize them when they happen. But you can't seize them if you're not aware of them. And there'll be more to seize when you do some small things to ensure that those opportunities are coming your way. So let's talk a little bit about how a listener can seize an opportunity for transformation. So what can they do next? Like some small step right now. What can I do today?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely obviously tune into podcasts. Like that's something, if you're already listening to this podcast, that that's a powerful thing to do. And you listen to it every day. It changes what's going into your ears. It changes your motivation. Um, further steps would be look up retreats and local things in your area, or look up places that could be a day trip, a 2-day trip, where you can immerse yourself in a life-changing experience, whether you're looking for an event that's very high energy, conference style, and that's how you respond, is that energy of the room cheering and everybody around you, or you're looking for a smaller retreat where you can get a more intimate experience and maybe experience some modalities like breathwork or yoga that you haven't experienced before or not on a transformational level. That's where I would start, is looking up events like that in your area.
Right. Yeah. Good places to do that might be on like, I'm trying to think. There's a, what's it called? It's event plan, not event planner. Yeah, Eventbrite.
Eventbrite?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking
So
that's it.
Eventbrite has great ones. I look for a lot. Like when I'm looking around my area, I look at Eventbrite. I look at Google. I just Google transformational retreats near me, or I Google retreats near me, or if there's something specific I want to work on, I'll Google that.
Mhm.
And then I also know, like on Instagram, social media, start following people that speak to you and just
Mm.
start looking them up. Do they do events? And try to start following some people who either speak at events or host events or attend events that you might want to attend. Follow like-minded people, and you'll start to see those opportunities pop up. It's like when you buy a car and everybody else has that car. You've just got to surround yourself
Right.
with the
Awareness.
space. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, that is a beautiful way to start your growth. And and see some opportunities for transformation and build a beautiful community while you're doing it. So that's very beautiful. And, coming from my side of things, obviously being a coach as well as a speaker, I would just like to mention that if it feels to my beautiful listeners listening today, if you're feeling really stuck, something beyond what you think a retreat's going to help you with, and, my question is, would it be valuable to have a roadmap that'll give you a guide to a clear, desired future? And if that's the case, I do have this one single session. I don't do it retreat style, but I do it as a one-on-one. And it's a pathfinding session. We really just make this map to the future, right? So you can have some confidence and some movement instead of floundering in indecision, a clear direction, so it's easier to navigate all that unfamiliar territory and uncertainty. So you can get unstuck and get into action. And instead of trying to do it the long, hard way, because there are some people that have been listening to podcasts over and over again and watching videos and reading so many books, and then yet they still feel stuck, right? So instead of the long, hard way, if you're all done and you're impatient and you're okay, I don't want to get lost anymore, then, in this pathfinding session, we actually make a map, the most direct route, right? So it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing for someone to know their own personal map. This is not a one size fits all, it's 90 minutes we talk and we're making the actual map to the future they desire. And
and imagine going into your journey having that tool.
Right. And now you'll know. Yeah. Now you know exactly which retreats to pick out, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly what transformational experiences that you want. Because now you have this clarity and you can make a more empowered decisions instead of I don't know, there's 19,000 retreats out here. Right?
It's hard to narrow it down.
Yeah, because in this map, we got here's a list of the milestones to achieve, and here's a list of the obstacles to overcome. And there's retreats that help with both of those. And like you mentioned, you work with so many fabulous coaches who are helping people do this beautiful work in the world. So anyone is interested in crafting that strategy and getting that map, you can find that on my website. Reach out to me, or there's actually a whole page all about it to learn about it. So yeah, well, Kera, this has been a really great conversation. I want to thank you so much for being with us today. And okay, so if someone who's listening is a coach who wants to hold a retreat, or a person who wants to go on a retreat, or someone who's just thinking about I would love to create a retreat. Maybe they're not a coach. It doesn't matter. Create a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for them? How can you help them?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to be coordinating my own retreat. I'll be hosting a retreat at the end of summer. And so I'll be pulling in some of my amazing partners to be a part of that retreat. And it'll be somewhat of an introduction to the retreat experience. So it'll be a one day with the option of an overnight, and it will have a series of different modalities and things to open you up, and speakers that will really be focused on true transformation. So I'm excited about that, and I'll have the details. The links will be in the show notes for you to follow. And if you are a coach or someone wanting to just sit down for a session, I have a Calendly link that I'll also be putting in there. It's a 30-minute call, and it's basically a 30-minute strategy session. So how can we help create your ideal retreat? And what are the things that you need to do to start getting there?
Well, that's all wonderful. And yes, I'll make sure those make it into the show notes. That's a really wonderful thing, especially a 30-minute strategy session. Why wouldn't somebody take advantage of that? That's fantastic. And so that is wonderful. Thank you, Kera, very much. Thank you for being a wonderful guest. And I'd like to thank our lifelong learner listeners for sharing your time with us today and allowing us to help you grow. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click on on anything to subscribe and follow whatever platform you're listening to, so you can listen to more wonderful guests like Kera Wasserbach, who can help you become the best version of you. And so once again, I'm Linda Bucher, helping smart, high potential, heart-centered people to discover their gifts and make a splash that ripples positively in the world. And until next time, please subscribe and make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.